Welcome, everybody. Sorry to be a minute late, but Crystal Williams with Lemon Seed Marketing coming to you from my office today because who does not love some good technical difficulties? So I am excited today to be talking about from bots to booking and doing some cool things on things does not have to be crazy. Work isn't crazy, and how systems are actually what we are probably missing in our business. And I am really excited to have a Strick and Ed from Workiz with me today. And so I'm excited for them to introduce yourselves again. Crystal Williams, co-founder and lead strategist at Lemon Seed Marketing, where we care about helping you build a strategy and build your brand. And then I'm going to toss it to Strick and Ed here for a minute, and y'all can fight over who goes first.
Cool.
Strick, I'm going to let you have the honors, man.
Okay, awesome. Crystal, as always, amazing to see you. In the spirit of full disclaimers, Crystal and I have known each other for a few years, a few connection points in common. Her family business has served my wife's family in East Texas, grandparents, aunts, and uncles for decades at this point. And another fun fact is two of our not so young kiddos landed at the same university. So Crystal, I might even bump into you at Parents Weekend this weekend. So
maybe so.
But we're thrilled to be here. Think the world of Lemon Seed. Last shameless plug, but if you're not following Lemon Seed on social, their reels and their TikTok is pure joy.
Oh, thank you. We love that. We love the fun side.
Over to you, Ed.
Awesome. Thank you, Strick. Ed Medor. I am very happy to be here today to join Strick, one of Workiz's fearless leaders. Strick, I've had the privilege now of working with Strick for about a year and a half, roughly. Strick, leading our as an executive vice president of revenue. Strick is here to often help me in guiding our strategic partnerships team here at Workiz. And so that's the joy of my life, is being able to really focus in on how we can go to market, from a strategic standpoint with amazing marketing partners like Lemon Seed, to our OEM partnerships, distributors, different business coaching groups. And so it's truly a pleasure to be here today and to roll up our sleeves and to talk about the fun stuff, because I'd like to say if your business is feeling chaotic, it's probably not you. It's probably your systems.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I just want to frame this up a little bit. First of all, the three of us would love to know where you're coming from, what business you're in the chat. So we just like to know that. Sometimes we can utilize that information to give more real world examples, but just to kind of frame our conversation today, like Ed just mentioned, a lot of times chaos comes from lack of clarity. Emily, my business partner, has been really into that lately. Like, is this problem truly because of lack of clarity? And so a lot of times there's that, but also this idea that we don't have good systems in place. We don't have good data to make good data-driven decisions. It's probably your systems in some form or fashion. And so we're going to talk about how better tools, clearer processes really can free up your team, increase revenue, and honestly reduce the stress that a lot of contract owners, especially owners that are running their own businesses, really run into on a consistent basis. And so today we're going to have a little mix of marketing and operations systems and tools that really can help you maybe calm the chaos a little bit, especially for my HVAC people as we're sliding into shoulder season, and my plumbers. Some of you are ramping up because it's going to be cold, frozen pipe life. But even my roofers, pest control people, they're going into shoulder season. And so now is a time that you probably have some capacity to work on things like cleaning up data and training and all of those good things. So the first topic right out of the box is maybe the real reason that work feels so hard. And in our prep, Strick, I know like one of your thoughts was maybe expand a little bit more. Either one of you can take this on. When we say that it's a systems problem, I know that Workiz is a FSM or CRM service. Is that one of the things that y'all see on your side that really is causing a lot of heartache, heartburn, maybe is what I need to say there?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there to unpack, Crystal. Certainly, yes, Workiz is one of the field service management or CRM platforms for the trades. And I think where the chaos can come from is contractors do a great job, building their brand, working with, organizations like yourself, Lemon Seed, and the phones are ringing and they're seeing inbound and they're working with their teams to create more efficient ways to convert. But the landscape of technology and software in particular in the trades is very fast evolving. And so there's a number of point solutions out there that kind of do one thing really well. There are processes that you have to enable your team with, and that's not a one-time thing because you have new team members coming, you have team members, hopefully retiring and going on to the the swing on the front porch. But constantly looking at your business, and Crystal's exactly right. We're moving into shoulder season. This is the time to evaluate your processes and look at the first question I would ask is, are your processes connected? Are they, if possible, embedded within the solution? Is your data clean? And that's not just your customer records, but it's also your job boards and anything else that touches those. So when I say the phone's ringing and inbound's coming, maybe they're working with Angie or Thumbtack or hopefully taking full advantage of what they can do even for free on Google. But how is speed to lead being accomplished? And it's a big team with dispatchers and CSRs and technicians. I'll talk more about how that team can be optimized through technology, but that's a great place to start. Ed, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say, what's encouraging, I think, is, unlike people problems, because people can be hard to coach or change, like Strick's still having a difficult time getting me to learn brevity, right? Hard to change people problems, but, what's encouraging about a systems problem is that they are fixable. They can be addressed with better processes, automations, tools, and I think as Strick was, at least I think, alluding to, you see all of these different point solutions popping up all over the place. And I talk to, specifically HVAC contractors quite frequently that are like, oh, well, I went out and bought this and I bought that. And I've got all these cool tools that I'm putting, into motion here at my business, right? But it just starts turning into chaos because they don't actually have anything talking to one another. It's not very cohesive. And so you can go out there and you can ramp up and you can keep doing more. Like you think you're adding more tools to your tool belt because this is going to help you like be more operationally efficient. But really, sometimes it's just making your business fatter, like, and you start to get to this point where like all of these extra tools that are supposed to be helping you are actually hindering you. But the good news is that these system issues, those can be fixed a lot easier than fixing a people problem.
Yeah. So I was over here taking some notes because I love to take notes from how other people's perspectives, because I live on the marketing side of life, right? But one of the things I will tell you is when you have the inability is a strong word, but when you're unable to intentionally gather data, intentionally do things, it impacts it. Everything rolls downhill, if you know what I mean. Right. It just continues to roll downhill. And so it is definitely an issue of chaos just coming from lack of all of these different tools that you could deploy. If you are intentional about it, you have to inspect what you expect. You have to be in. I know I hang on the word intentional because I'm guilty of this too. I'm a high I in the disc profile. I tend to be wild and like lots of ideas. But just professionally, I have to learn how to calm down and focus on the task at hand and be intentional about doing what we're going to do. And so I am a huge person of like, whatever I have to do to back into getting good data for me to be able to make decisions. Whatever I have to do, I need to slow down. Maybe I have the wrong person in the wrong seat. Maybe I have the right person on my team. They're just in the wrong seat. There's a bunch of ways to kind of twist and turn that. But, I just see businesses literally falling apart at the seams sometimes and trying to use marketing as a Band-Aid. So they feel chaotic. So they're like, I just need more leads. When really more leads is only going to exacerbate the problem. It's only going to make you feel more out of control. And so we even go through this at Lemon Seed, right? So we're like, we just need more leads. We need more people coming in. Well, number one, maybe we need to let's look inside the business. What can we update there? And so it's all really about that leadership mindset to me. Like, I need clarity over just having control and all this new stuff popping out. One of the funniest things I could remember is I sat on a stage with Jennifer Bagley from CI Web Group one day, and it was over e-commerce. And it was a group of lower end contractors, meaning they weren't quite like at $1 million, right, in total revenue. So smaller contractors is what I should have said instead of lower end, but smaller size contractors that were on the up and up, right? They're trying to grow, they're trying to build. And I was looking at lots of things. Well, the majority of their emails were still at Yahoo, at Gmail, things like that. And then I had immediately thought, we're sitting in this room teaching them that they need e-commerce and they need to be doing these things when the majority of these people don't even have a website, don't have a CRM. I'm like, so what are we can't sell equipment when we can't even take the lead. We don't even have a way to. So some of us need to just resettle down on meet yourself where you are, right? So some of us just need to do like a cleanse of all of the shiny objects and get back to basics, including controlling the data in and out of my CRM, controlling FSM, controlling the training of my team so that I can then have processes in place and it will decrease the panic.
Right. That makes a ton of sense. And Crystal, we appreciate that too, because we want to meet the contractors where they are in their growth journey. And if you're at 500,000 trying to get to $1 million, you're in a different place. You have there is an intentional sequential adoption of technology and software and data cleaning that has to happen. Good news is we're very fortunate. Workiz, we have some clients that have over 300 users. The majority of our clients have maybe 5 to 30 users, and so we see the arc of that growth journey. And in a very small way, we celebrate it with them, because when we meet them where they are trying to get from 500,000 to $1 million, it's a very specific checklist of things that you have to go through. Is your foundational architecture of your technology, is it efficient? Is it tied together? Even if you're using point solutions, have you enabled the integrations to work properly and data mapped everything? And then we take a deeper dive into operationally, as you say, when the leads are coming in, and we know how incredibly seasonal most of the trades are. Do you have the tools and processes to be able to convert with speed to lead, either through automation or maybe an AI solution? And then if that's not present, then what is your people system and strategy? I'll give one specific example because I think it's resonant. We have clients, many of them, who've adopted a performance pay module. And what that simply means is that you have a way to incentivize your entire team to bring them together to understand that they're working towards one goal, which is converting revenue, driving brand growth through positive reputations and reviews, and trying to maintain profit. But the performance pay actually allows inside of our system to incentivize financially even a dispatcher of CSR that converts at the top of funnel to a booked appointment. Technician, most technicians are paid on performance, so that's much more common. But by tying together the financial incentives through processes and technology is one way to make sure that the team is operating, rowing in the same direction, minimizing swivel chair data entry, and dispatchers and technicians are high-fiving when a really solid, complete job is done on time. Maybe Crystal's taking notes.
I'm just processing a little bit of like processes is one of the biggest things. Process is one of the biggest things they struggle with, and they get themselves in the way, right? They just get themselves in the way. Ed, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what's important is that I was talking about how there's two different sides to this. You can go out there and you can overinflate and start looking at like way too much that you think you need in order to get the job done right. But you can also be running into an issue where let's say you've got too many technicians and not enough communication because like you just literally don't have any systems in place, right? Like you're trying to over engineer To Strick's point before, not every business is in the same place. One of the things that drives me absolutely mad, Crystal, you can probably back me up on this one, right? You got an HVAC business that opens up, for example, and he's trying to figure out like, what should my pricing be in the market? So he picks up the phone and he starts calling all of his competitors, and then he lands at this magic, labor hourly rate that he's borrowing from the guy down the street who's in a completely different place in his evolution as a business owner, right? And so, like, not everybody's in the same place, but I think what you really need to do is, you need to kind of have a level set. And I think that's what's awesome about, a platform like Workiz and, what I have learned over time and getting to know Crystal and the folks at Lemon Seed is you can have a level set with them as a marketing partner to where you can figure out, okay, how am I going to centralize everything? How can I have my jobs, my dispatching, my invoicing, my proposals, warranty management? Like, I don't want to keep juggling all of these apps if I'm on that one side of the coin, right? Or if I'm on the completely other side where, like, I don't have anything in place, I need to look at a software like Workiz. Hey guys, I'm not saying it has to be Workiz, but at least find one like us where we have the same goal of trying to keep everything in the same ecosystem and to provide you with the most tools that you can so that you can do more with less, and I think that that's really important. You need to find ways to automate your busy work. You need to make your technicians empowered in the field, like Strick's talking about our performance pay, right? I mean, I don't know very many people that aren't motivated by financial incentive, even if that's, your CSR who's booking the call, the dispatcher. I want to incentivize them for pushing this customer into a service maintenance plan, right? Let's take care of that. And then if you've got a technician in the field who's closing a service maintenance plan, let's take care of him. Let's financially reward him. Maybe it's doing an upsell on thermostats. Like I encourage people to start collecting data when they're in the field, because all too often, Strict, agree or disagree, we're out there, we're running to that next job just so that we can close out the ticket instead of looking at what opportunities may exist into the future. Crystal, you're talking about the shoulder season, right? I remember doing a webinar with one of our coaching partners, and it talked about how you can fill the calendar year round. When you are going gangbusters during peak cooling season, that's the time of the year that you should be selling the most service plans.
Yeah,
So,
listen, I get passionate about maintenance plans, okay? Because you want to complain to us that you can't, it's slow season, and then like you won't launch a maintenance plan, you don't hold anybody accountable for it. You don't, like you mentioned, you don't spiff your technicians, you don't educate your CSRs. You have this magic program that's floating around out there that no one's actually utilizing. And so it's a waste of time because, again, there's no intentionality behind it. And it is such a good tool. I call it a treasure chest, right? It is a treasure chest of people that already have trusted your company for some sort of reason. And so you don't even have that hurdle. Now you just need to be giving them advice and building authority and giving them offers. It's just kind of almost silly to me, but I see it every day.
yeah.
It's table stakes at this point, especially in the complex trades.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the next thing that I thought we would talk about here is common pain points. Again, going down this same route, but when smarter systems. So one of the biggest things I remember happening was our dispatchers, right? Our dispatchers were just like, okay, they're next, you go there. They're next, you go there. And I was like, I remember as the marketing person being like, is that guy over here? And you just sent him way over there. Even I was like, this isn't good. Or like invoicing clients and like reoccurring service models, schedule, like all of those little intricacies inside of the actual operation side of the business, they just get lost in the in this translation of, again, how should I be doing this effectively to help my company grow the bottom line? Like more than just how do I keep everybody happy? But dispatching for profit, invoicing correctly for ongoing services. And I know y'all have to see those pain points from contractors, right?
We do quite often. Obviously, one thing that you hit on was route optimization, and having a dispatcher have the mindset of decreasing windshield time while understanding the dispatch board well enough to dispatch for profit and higher revenue opportunities. If the schedules for the next 48 hours are full with high revenue opportunities, be creative and potentially consider rescheduling a filter replacement. Those types of things need to happen in real time. Another thing that I think is critical, and we haven't mentioned it yet, is why technicians and the back office staff need to adopt technology, and that adoption is not a one-time thing. It's constantly making sure that they're taking advantages of all the latest and greatest features. We want the pros in the field to be proud of their tools, right? And sometimes they feel like technology is kind of thrust upon them. When they think about tools, they normally would first go to, DeWalt versus Milwaukee. We've seen some of these arm wrestling conversations. Sometimes they look more like a slap contest. But you want them to think about
Android versus iPhone.
Exactly. I'm trying to speak in the verbiage of pros in the field. I know that they're passionate about Milwaukee and DeWalt. But you want them to be as proud of, the mobile app that they're using, that makes it easier for them to not have to go back to the truck for 30 minutes to put together an estimate. They can literally put the estimate together between the condenser and the kitchen table. And that's what, builds more trust inside of the home as well, when they're not waiting for somebody to fumble through a mobile app to build an estimate for 45 minutes.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a big contention point, I think, I will say this. So I remember one time my brother, he came in and he wanted to really streamline operations. And so, my brother and I worked really closely together to grow. So my grandfather, then my dad, then my brother, and I came on full-time professionally. I say, not the days when I was I call it a trade baby, where I just had to work when I was a teenager, answering the phones and things like that. But I think what happened is my brother started looking around, and he looked up, and I know this sounds corny, but he definitely looked up out of the day-to-day. Out of the planning mode and into the day-to-day. So I hear people say all the time, you shouldn't be you need to work, be working on your business, not in your business. And I'm like, okay, yes, but sometimes what you need to do? Work in your business so that you can see pain points and places to prepare the actual. So theory versus actuality so in theory, this is a good process. In theory, this is a good program or a good schedule of how things should go. But when you really turn around and start actually having to do the doing, it's not very feasible, or your team is having trouble having clarity to understand what to do. And then it just causes issues to me of so you go out to your team, well, we need to dispatch for profit. So dispatchers are like, oh, yes, sir, I want to follow rules. So I'm going to go do whatever dispatch for profit means. They said, if you're close together, when really they don't understand what truly dispatching for profit is, right? They don't really understand, why can't we just take our maintenance clubs and let people pay one time a year? You can, but why are we trying to get people on monthly? They just don't understand the why. And so my brother really started talking about the whys inside of our meetings and inside of our team meetings. And we literally saw a shift. You know what else we saw? Natural leaders started moving up, because once they had the knowledge of the why behind the reason, they started figuring out more and more things made sense to them. And so I think when you really streamline your operations based off you actually looking in the business yet working on it, I think you're able to scale faster and cleaner. It's a lot of work, right? A friend of mine and I was just in Indianapolis, and a friend of one of my clients and I met up, and we were talking, and she said, I travel a lot, but honestly, I do not know how some of these contractors travel so much and have a grip on their business. And I want to tell you, they don't. They live off of literally a P&L, and the P&L is all that matters. And they don't ever stop to go back and look and say, this is what we could be doing. This is how we could be utilizing our FSM better. A part of onboarding with Lemon Seed is us taking a look at your actual dashboards and your performance. And so I'll say, hey, how do you what are some tasks that your team is doing that your technicians are recommending in the field that we could then create a custom audience for? And they're like, I have no idea how to look that up. And I'm like, so if we wanted to go look at last summer, everyone that we added refrigerant to their system last summer, and we want to say, hey, the first pound of refrigerant is on us this summer because we know there's a leak. We know there's a problem. And we know odds are this could lead to a replacement. Why couldn't we curate? Well, and they don't know how to use their own CRM to extract data to help us have a creative marketing plan.
Yeah, that's a great example, Crystal. And going back to what Ed said about just doing a little bit of a whole home inventory when you're there for one trade, but grabbing a data plate off of a water heater, or just knowing that you might have served a piece of equipment that you didn't install, but it's still got another 12 months on warranty eligibility that you could add. So there are dozens of examples like that.
That's a great one. Because warranty eligibility, like, this is so corny. So all the dudes on the call are going to be like, oh, this is so corny. But let me tell you, don't worry, you're not the decision maker anyway. But if you do something like, happy birthday to your water heater. We installed your water heater 10 years ago today. Happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. By the way, you're out of warranty. Like, you could do some really fun stuff and people are going to be like, did my plumbing company just sing happy birthday to my water heater? And and they may not need anything. Everything may be fine, but it is sticky and it is memorable. And right now, in a world where the world is very noisy on social, on everything, I really think that homeowners, let me use average consumers, are looking for some clarity. They're looking for something that breaks out of the traditional side. And I think right now we're about to see a turn away from digital marketing, where now people want to be a lot more like user-generated content driven. And again, this is why it's important that your processes include asking for a review and gathering good information. Make sure that what your technicians are putting in the CRM itself is actually good wording. It's spelled correctly. It's working correctly. You know what I mean? Like, I think we're going to see a shift where everybody went paid ads for 10 years right now, PPC and GLSA and all the alphabet soup. And now it's leaning back around where people want more authenticity. Well, imagine that.
Yeah.
So how can we develop and utilize programs and softwares that acknowledge that and make it easy for us to do it and more efficient ways for us to do it?
Right.
That's my 2 cents on it. And it doesn't, just because you systemize does not mean that you're losing that touch of personalization. It's just that step is there to ask for the review or make sure that you've got a good synopsis of whatever the call was or whatever you've got going on there. And I know you guys probably see that a lot in your life when y'all are looking through all what people are putting into their CRM. I know at Workiz, y'all probably see a lot of that and get to see some unfortunate things and some really good things.
Right. No, and I agree with everything you said, Crystal. And 2 things that I want to pull out of that. One is consumer first. Your narrative and the way that you talk about your brand is through that first person. It could be reviews, but the good news is that information's out there. And to Crystal's point, how are you utilizing it? There's a ton of information as well as images inside of your CRM. Have you enriched your Google business profile so that the different ways that the searches and the search results are being surfaced, you have the best chance of being noticed and profiled? So there's a lot going on there. Some of that, I spent 2 days at Google in Santa Monica, and so I'm thinking a little bit about that. But you have a very rich repository of data already that may just simply be either not well organized or underutilized.
Yes, love the data that's there. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of that. So, I'm going to talk a little bit more about marketing for a little bit. And I want you guys to tell me kind of how programs like Workiz and things can help with this. And listen, it may not be, this might be a little bit of a unique situation because you guys may not have this portion set up yet, or y'all might can answer to this. So someone that's on Workiz, how does the actual contractor have visibility into any marketing performance? Is there another software that we need to integrate, or how does that work? Because you know me, I love visibility. So I want to see that I want to see the complete, as much of the customer journey as I can. So what was the phone number that they called? What revenue did it generate? What did we do? All those good things. What does that look like for your team?
Well, I'll take the first part of that, and then Strick, you can jump in. I love that. Just one of the mantras, I guess you could say, at Workiz is just trying to keep things super simple. Because quite frankly, none of us really have time if we're running a business to go out there and get a PhD in how to use our software. It's just a little bit excessive, right? So, when you go into the Workiz report dashboards, I don't want to have to sit there and click around a million different reports to figure out what it is I'm looking for. If I want to look at job statistics, I'm going to click on the report that says job statistics, and I'm going to find out what my gross revenues are. And I want to see the source of where that job came from. And we love tracking things at Workiz. We do it internally and we do it externally for our customers. We want to take the best practices that we have as a company and say, gosh darn it, we need to figure out this lead came from Lemon Seed Marketing. And
Right.
it translates into this particular customer here with X amount of annual revenue and so on and so forth. I mean, you ought to be able to do that with your hard-earned marketing dollars too. Like, if I'm going to hire Crystal, I want to know that I am seeing a return on advertising spend, right? If I'm going to go out there, and I can say this because I worked for the company for almost 10 years, but if I'm going to go invest a bunch of money in Angie Home Advisor, they don't know what they're calling themselves these days, but let's go there. A lot of people hate paying for leads. They're like, I don't want to pay for a lead. I'm like, well, you pay for them all day long, whether you realize it or not, just different ways of paying for a lead. So look, you got to figure out what's working and what's not. And with Workiz, one of our, shining stars, I would say, is the fact that we have a fully integrated communications platform. So we can assign unique phone numbers to every single campaign, or a lot of people make this mistake. Crystal, how often do you run across somebody that is using the same exact phone number that they've got for their business? It's on their website, it's on the side of the truck, it's on their Facebook page, it's everywhere. It's the same phone number. So that starts to obfuscate what's really working and what's not. And phone numbers are so super cheap now. We can give you a million phone numbers for pennies on the dollar.
And people don't care as much as you think they do.
Yeah, no, they don't.
No, they do not. They do not care. I don't care what you think. They do not care.
Just because Strick's got a catchy jingle that says, call me at 555-1212, it doesn't really matter. Okay.
Listen, you know what? Your best argument to me is if you have a vanity phone number. So if you're 1-800, your wife is hot kind of drama, maybe. But for the most part, people want to be able to click. They want to be able to, they need multiple ways. Even people in their 50s and 60s have come around, which I want to be careful there because I'm getting close, but the people now they've learned how to navigate this space to be able to, they want unique ways to interact with you as well. But tracking numbers, it blows my mind. I'm like, sir, you've had this same phone number for your company since literally 1974. And so when we want to know what's working, if everyone calls that number, they'll say, well, my team asked them. Okay, so let me tell you how that goes. When your person says, well, hi, Miss Williams, how did you hear about us? And they're going to go, Google. And you're going to go, oh, you heard about us on Google. Well, in your mind, in a marketing mind, that makes me insane.
Yeah.
A map ad, a paid ad? Was it an organic search? Was it a link off of something else? Were you really on social media? And actually, were you on Bing and not Google? Like, where were you? That's like people saying, I got a new car. Oh, you did? Yeah. What did you get? A car. What kind of car? A car is, it's so broad. What did you eat today? Dinner? Okay. That doesn't help us, right? And so, or people are going to say what sticks in their head. So all the time, people will say, oh, because we do tracking numbers for a lot of our clients, we'll have tracking numbers and maybe some sort of unique custom field where the CSR can fill it in to say what the client actually says. And so I'm like, they called off of a postcard. And then when the CSR says, how'd you hear about us? They'll say, I love your billboards. Really, ma'am? Because you called me off this postcard phone number. Or I see your vans. That's a popular one, right? They literally called off of Google local service ads. But their answer is, how did you hear about us? I see your vans. I saw your yard signs. Okay, because really you went and searched the wild, wild west and said AC repair near me and just happened to land on me. But what that does tell us as marketers is because of our branding and mass approach to brand awareness, when they saw my name, they remembered who I was and chose me. I'll take
Right.
that too. Right. But at the end of the day, you can't, my point is you can't trust a consumer. They don't understand what they're answering. So it's enough to be dangerous, right? It's enough to be dangerous. You have to have your own visibility into what's working.
Strick, we have this conversation all the time, don't we? The customer journey. And
we do. Yeah. I think where Ed wants me to go is, well, to validate everything you just said, Crystal, because that's true, but it really is the brand name that's the most resonant. And the funnel is not linear any longer. They could have, heard about it, the brand because they remember seeing the truck at neighbors. Then they go on Google's Maps and they choose that one because it's the one that they remember. But there's this concept of multi-touch attribution, and a powerful brand in the marketplace is going to get it at top of funnel. It's going to get it when they forget the name, but then they recognize the logo when they're searching. So brand is incredibly important.
Definitely.
Yeah, and something like, y'all know me, I'm going to agree with every bit of that because I feel like literally in my bones, I'm like, I want y'all so badly to understand the importance of brand awareness. And I know when you're a small company, right? So when you're a small company, you need leads. You love brand awareness, but you need leads. And there are healthy strategies that give you a good mix of, you don't dump all of your money into straight lead gen, and you're doing simple things that continue to brand build. And then as you grow, you keep a good balance of adding to lead gen, adding to branding, to where eventually you're looking at a 60-40 split, 60% building brand awareness, 40% being lead gen. And it gets you a lot more of a consistent flow of leads. But I know that not everybody starts there. But again, I still lean back into the issue here is where most companies fall flat is they start making just gut decisions, not based on data, and then not holding their team accountable for garbage in, garbage out with their FSN, with their softwares, right?
Right.
And they don't just make the most of it. And I'll tell you another thing. This is going to sound like shots fired. Most people are utilizing these highly complicated CRMs that are they're outrunning their coverage here, right? So many of my contractors are on software, and I'm like, you're not even using a fourth of what this software can do. When really, if you would just battle and get a good software that will meet you where you are and then push you a little. Some of you are overpaying for something that you're not even utilizing. You're overpaying and underutilizing. Like, it's a terrible connection. So I hate that for them because it's a waste of money. Like, you could be spending this in marketing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. We're seeing a lot of that, Crystal, and I'll be couth and I try not to fire shots, but we see it all the time. There are options out there, and contractors are trying to make well-informed decisions. But we have a lot of new clients that come on board, and they realize that they can. In one case, Luis over at AC Pros, AC Guys, he was able to do away with 6 different software subscriptions because he found that Workiz could do it all that he needed. Outside of accounting, we don't do accounting software or tax automation, but the rest of it we do.
Well, I'll be honest. That's one of the reasons, listen, I had the best blistered shishito peppers at Kalahari Resort in Round Rock.
Those were good.
People talking with you guys, because honestly, that's what catches my attention. Listen, I tell this to everybody. Limit C, do you know who I work for? Contractors. I don't work for CRMs or digital companies or these direct mail companies. I am a facilitator. My team, we facilitate, like, what is the perfect partner stack of for you and your level of business and your market and your budget, all of those things, a very customized approach. And when y'all were talking to you guys, I was like, this is such a solid option. This is such a solid option. Workiz is a solid option. And I know it's not a sales pitch for you guys because y'all were very adamant that's not what y'all wanted, me too. But at the end of the day, I do think that people watching should understand that there are options out there. You don't have to go these certain ways. You really need to look at where you are in business and where you want to go, and what vendor partners are the right stack for you, and definitely make the most of that. So, the other thing is, I thought we would talk for a second about, and I know we're about 40 minutes in, we're doing good, but I thought one thing that was kind of interesting to me is back on this leadership side of things. And so, like, I'll be honest, I don't know exactly where you two sit in leadership at your company, but I see a lot of contractors, and we've hit on this a little bit since we've been talking, but I want to empower technicians that have gone to own contracting companies to get them out of that technician mindset and get them into the leader mindset, but be the leader that they wish they would have had.
Right.
Right. And so I think what that means is you have to respect the position, right? We have to respect the fact that a technician gets in and out of their car 15 times a day. They're dealing with all types of homes, all types of home environments, old equipment, new equipment, people that are happy to see them, people that are pissed off to see them, right? And so you never want to lose like where you came from, right? Like being in the truck or being an installer, being a plumber. But at the same time, you need to be able to marry those two things by being a strong leader with a coaching mindset. Right. So is that, I don't know if y'all sit in those roles at your companies or what y'all think about that. Maybe it's a little controversial, but that's how I feel.
Sure. I'll take the first swing at it. And I will speak, based on conversations I've had with contractors. Ed and I are both part of the leadership team at Workiz, and we're always trying to find ways to engage our team members in a way that, mixes personal and professional success. And the best leaders that I've seen come out of the field, an amazing amount of street cred for an owner of a contracting business to say, I've been in that 140-degree attic for, trying hopefully not more than 15 to 20 minutes. I've climbed through in a crawl space through all sorts of things. But the best mentors and coaches that are in those leadership positions, they're not just looking only at the number of jobs done per day. They're not just looking at the average sales price, but they're tying it back to a message that I think matters more. And part of the reason I want you to be able to do your job quickly and use technology to do so is I want you to be able to make that baseball game. I want you to make the dance recital. And that's why this is so important.
My brother told me one time, he said, it's really hard to say that we're a family-focused company when I'm running 12-hour shifts 7 days a week. So we started implementing different structures to, hey, you know what? Yes, if you work the weekend, you're off the next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? Like if you're going to push hard on your team to be available and do those things, you have to work hard, play hard kind of vibe. And it worked out really well for us. It was definitely a big piece of our a leadership moment that I've had with my brother in that contracting company. What about you, Ed? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm remembering a time, I think it was probably about a year and a half ago, where I was visiting with a distributor partner up in New England, and just kind of set up for like a little counter day, and I love when I get an opportunity to do that and actually meet contractors in the field. And specifically around this topic, it's not always the business owner that I have the opportunity to meet. It's an actual technician who understands the day-to-day, challenges that these businesses face, and has the more practical application in mind. And so you'll find like what I was going to say is that leadership isn't always about titles, right? It's about giving people the tools and the confidence to make decisions. And so I'm talking to this gentleman, and he's telling me, he's like, yeah, well, we have about 40 employees. And I'm like, well, that's great. And so I'm expecting that obviously they have some sort of field service management software already that they're using, and maybe it's going to be one that I recognize or one that I've never heard of. Come to find out, they are still doing things super old school, pen and paper, calendars, Google calendars, if they're lucky. They had to literally phone in to their office every day, payments. They couldn't even take a payment in the field.
Yeah, it's wild to me. It's wild to me in 2025.
Oh, mind blowing, right? But I mean, the reason that this is coming to mind is because he's here visiting with me at this distributor location, and he's just asking me questions. He's like, well, wait, so you can do this and you can do that. And, he starts sharing with me some of the challenges that even the back office is facing, where, how we were talking about service agreements before. They're selling service agreements at their company, but guess what they also have to do? They have to spend an entire day or more calling customers who've already bought the service maintenance plan once and get them to renew, because they don't have credit cards on file. It's not something, whether you're selling a Crystal monthly, quarterly, annually,
Yep.
they don't have anything set up for auto renewal. Now that's going to create an obstacle where they've got to call and resell something that the customer had already bought once before. And he shared all this information with me. And he was like, look, Ed, at the end of the day, I'm not the guy who's going to make this decision, but I can tell you who you need to talk to. I can, at the very least, get you to sit down for a meeting with him, because everything that you guys do is something that could greatly benefit our company. And so, sometimes a leader is someone who can, step up and, has the insight as to what some of the bigger problems really are. And I mean, there's a chance for him to grow within that organization big time.
Yeah. And let me tell you, so I'll never forget this. When Lemon Seed started back in 2019, I got loved this client. He was precious. Okay. My little East Texas words. He was precious. He was in Arkansas. And when I got him, I was like, okay, let's talk about this. And you have this really cute brand. He's like, yeah. He's like, listen, I don't know what to do. That's why I hired you. So tell me what to do. So I was like, okay. So I launched all of these things for him, got his direct mail going, got his website updated, got social media going. And one day he's like, hey, I just want to let you know, I just ran a sales call. And I was like, perfect. He's like, yep, came from the postcard. I said, well, how did it go? He goes, don't know yet. Headed back to the office. I'm about to wrap up. And then and then I got to call him and see when I can come back out and drop it off. And then I'll follow up with him in a couple of days and I'll let you know how it goes. I said, excuse me. I said, but it was hard because I didn't want to, this is my little millennial thing. I didn't want to yuck his yum where he was feeling good about it. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, so why couldn't you just present in the home? He goes, well, but I gotta do a load calculation. I'm like, okay, yeah. So, but why do you need to go back to your office? He goes, well, who's going to type it up? I said, well, dear God, I hope a software. He goes, oh, no, I need to go type this up. And I was like, if this man tells me that he's typing this on a typewriter, I give up. I said, oh my gosh. And so I said, hey, I have an idea. I want you to look at this sales software that we have, that we work with, some of our other clients work with. He was like, okay. It isn't that he didn't want to do it, but he had been so much in the motion of that's what he's done for so long. And listen, 20, 30 years ago, that probably was fine. I mean, my grandpa, when he was running the business, he was notorious for a cup of coffee and a slice of pie, and you sat around and you shook hands. And I'm like, the world is so much not at that pace anymore. And so I literally had to say, either we decide that that's going to be a weird differentiator for us, or we've got to adapt and innovate and be more. And then once I showed him how simple it was to click around in there and, and have it look nice and pretty and have his company's name on it. And then I actually introduced payment factor, like you're only financing 10% of your jobs, but then you don't sell them because they're too expensive. We need to implement a financial option. Thank you. Finance options. And I said, so then you present with payment factor. And he was like, this is amazing. And I was just like, but honestly, super open. But he just never stopped long enough to go look and see what he needed to be doing. And so it really does open my eyes sometimes when people don't realize that how detrimental they can be to their companies when they don't innovate. And out of pure innocence by not innovating, for sure. Well, let's do a couple little takeaways. Let's call this little pieces of advice, and I'll give you guys a minute to talk about it. But like some quick wins that you think you could give a little bit of advice to contractors, and I'll start with the marketing side. What I encourage you to do right now as a contractor that's in this space, maybe feeling a little chaotic, feeling a little out of control, not knowing where to turn, everything's kind of noisy. I would tell you from the marketing standpoint to start today adding in some sort of tracking. If you're not tracking, if you are tracking, go set once a week to do an audit of all of your tracking. Make sure that everything has a revenue, everything has a phone number, and everything's working. That then, once you start there, it will allow you and open doors for you to see actual performance. And don't be overwhelmed with it. There's lots of options. I'm happy to give you those options. Friends and family talk free. Send me an email, Crystal at Lemon Seed Marketing. There are options out there to put in tracking numbers. It may not be very in-depth, but it's an option because you need to start getting some sort of transparency into what is working. So that's my piece of advice. Do one of you want to go next?
Strick, I'm going to let you take it.
Sure. I'll borrow some of Crystal's language and intentionality, being intentional. So take advantage of shoulder season and look at the pieces of your business that you can evaluate effectively outside of peak heating season. And don't create a punch list of 24 things that you want to evaluate. Make it 3 to 5. And it could be the way that you're handling sales proposals, the way that you're managing customer data, maybe core ad spend, and then service plans. And what you love about it, what you don't. And this will be a bit of a shameless plug, but try to find some of that blank space on your calendar and go to the Workiz website. You can look at some of our case studies. The most powerful voice in the room is always our customers. And if you're open to it, we'd love to set up 30, 45 minutes to just look at your business and help you evaluate whether or not you've got the right foundational software solutions in place already. Hopefully there's accounting, but CRMs, FSMs are a must-have at this point in the trades.
Absolutely. So how do people reach out to you guys specifically? Like, did you just go to your website?
Sure. I'm the only Strickland tutor on LinkedIn, but the easiest place to go is just workiz.com. And there's easy ways to do a little bit of self-investigation, check out some of our case studies, crazy YouTube channel with lots of talking heads. But from there, you can easily schedule a demo. And then we'll make sure that whatever content is sent out after that, you have our email addresses. Mine's
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Please, Ed.
I wanted to do you one better though. Okay, so I tried to have this landing page set up, and there was a technical glitch. So my apologies for that. So I'm going to give you the next best thing. Okay, I want you to reach out to me directly because I'd like to schedule that demo for you. I want to give you that extra, hands-on approach. So my email address I dropped in the chat here. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to see that, so I'm just going to spell it out for you. Okay, Edward is my first name, EDWARD .Medor MEDOR at workiz.com. That's WORKIZ.com. You can also feel free to send me a text message 303-356-9841. Happy to schedule with you either way. But we do have a link that we can send out to you, like in a follow-up email. I think, Crystal, you're probably going to email everyone that had signed up for today's session and maybe didn't get a chance to show up, but we can certainly get that out there to you. But to Strick's point, 20 minutes-ish, that's all we're asking for. Just like to show you how you can...
Never hurt anyone.
What's that?
Information never hurt anyone.
No, because we're not asking you to go out and get a Workiz tattoo, although it would be pretty cool if you did, and Strick would probably pay for that. So,
None of this is approved.
Well, I'll say this. Lemon Seed's job is to help you get a marketing strategy in place. So stop worrying that what you're doing is not working. A good marketing strategy, and then give you advice on how to pivot when you need to pivot and get good processes in place. And also, like, how do you build a brand, helping you get a fresh look and a fresh approach to building your business. And so together, I definitely think Workiz is a great option for those of you that are struggling on that side or just looking for some other options. Again, it doesn't hurt to at least go check it out, see what they have going on. I got to hear lots of conversations, and I love what I see. So, and listen, I'm hard to impress now. I'm kind of jaded to things, but I love what I see. So, listen, thank you all so much. If you didn't get to catch us live, don't worry. You can comment on in the comment section. It'll let us know that you commented, or feel free to email us at hello@lemonseedmarketing.com. Follow us on all the socials. I'm Crystal, CRYSTAL @lemonseedmarketing.com. And again, our goal is to support you, both of us, both Workiz and Lemon Seed. We just want to see you be successful. So thank y'all so much for joining us. And if you're watching this on replay, thank you for watching it in the middle of the night or whatever you're doing. And we hope everyone has a great day. And Workiz, thank you so much for especially dealing with my technical difficulties at the beginning of this. So thank y'all so much for being here.
Hey,
thank you so much, Crystal.
Very much, Crystal.
Absolutely.
See you soon.
All right.